Hi, I'm Jocelyn Taylor, and you're watching Dyke TV, television to incite, subvert, provoke, and organize. And now the news. Lesbian parents around the country have been successfully challenging adoption laws that prohibit unmarried and same-sex partners from adopting a child. The most recent success was March 16th, when a Chicago couple won the right to jointly adopt their daughter.
We have seen second-parent adoptions or heard of second-parent adoptions taking place in San Antonio, Texas, in Rhode Island, in smaller communities throughout the country. There have been some in Vermont.
We're working right now on a case that is the only case, I believe, or at least the only case we know of in New York, where a second-parent adoption was denied. What we call second-parent adoptions really involve lesbians who have children by alternative insemination, and the co-mother asks the court to allow her to adopt the child so that legally both the mothers would be in an equal standing. But this case in Putnam County, the court basically found that the statute in New York doesn't allow him to make such a finding, to permit that adoption, and we're appealing that conclusion. It's quite a good case in many respects. The court really didn't have any disagreement with the fact that these parents were going to be good parents for the child, or that this was the environment in which the child was going to grow up. The court simply disagreed with some of the other courts that have allowed these adoptions in terms of how the statute can be read, and he didn't find that this sort of an adoption is permitted.
Judges like bright lines. They like to see two women, or they don't like to see necessarily two women come in, but they like to see families that are intact. And even two women, even a lesbian couple with a child or a couple of children who come in together and say, this is what we want, and no matter what you do, we're still going to be a family. No matter what you do, we are still going to live our lives this way. But we would really like to ask that the court recognize our family legally.
Activists nationwide have been working hard to put forward a lesbian health agenda. They met in February at a conference and lobbying session that was closed to the media. Dyke TV was there.
This is Donna Piavoci for Dyke TV in Washington. Today our cameras are in Washington to witness the historic Lesbian Health Roundtable, where over 70 activists and lesbian health care providers have come to discuss the health care needs of lesbians and to attain the cooperation of federal legislators in addressing those needs.
We have civil rights just like everyone else. We pay taxes like everyone else, and it's important that we be recognized. A lot of us are fearful of coming out of the closet because of the hostility that exists. So part of what I'm doing is learning what I can to take back to where I live to educate people.
What I need to get communicated to Washington is that young people have the right for a good quality service. Healthcare services, especially as it relates to HIV and other STDs.
Lesbians are getting HIV, lesbians get AIDS. We're not immune to this, and unless we show up, the policies are not going to change.
Lesbian HIV and AIDS issues doesn't rest on the question of transmission between women sexually. We haven't had enough research that's been documented to really understand what risks we place each other in around HIV if we're infected. And I think there is some risk there. But that lesbians as a group of people are involved in activities that put us at risk.
There's been some good news about our civil rights recently. In Cincinnati and Colorado, statewide anti-lesbian and gay amendments were ruled unconstitutional. In Florida, the Supreme Court unanimously voted to remove an anti-gay amendment from the November ballot. In Cobb County, Atlanta, though, activists are fighting a hostile city council and a complacent Olympics committee.
Last year, the Cobb County Commissioners passed an anti-gay resolution condemning the gay lifestyle. Now, the Atlanta Committee for the Olympic Games has chosen the Cobb Galleria Center for volleyball competition in 1996. As long as the anti-gay resolution is in effect, there can be no Olympics in Cobb County.
It is time for us to say to Cobb County, stop. Stop your bigotry, stop your hate, stop your violence towards a significant part of your community.
Hey, do your job! Move the Olympics out of Cobb!
In Ovette, Mississippi, the lesbians of Camp Sister Spirit continue to be violently harassed by local townspeople. Dyke TV visited them and reports back in Eyewitness next.
But I'm here to tell you that rural America is rural America, and no matter where we had set Camp Sister Spirit up, it would not have been accepted. And it wouldn't be accepted in a lot of places. They've been shooting at us around the parameters of the property, intimidating us so much so until we're now putting up fences, big tall fences made out of tin. These are fundamentalist Christians that are terrorists.
We've had some intruders come up here a few times. I was down at the fence line the other day, and Percy was with me, and she jumped over the property line, and they threatened to shoot her. Other than that, we hear them shooting all the time, all around the property. They were on the property the other day because we could hear them talking, and when we fired a shot up in the air to let them know that they were close to the house, they replied with it sounded like an automatic to me. It had to have been an automatic.
The neighbor even put up a firing range along the property line. The man's got hundreds of acres of land, but chose to do this right along the property line. He also stole what was once on this land a deer stand and put it up on his land so that, quote, this was the rumor in town, that they could watch us dance naked out here.
Even though I'd heard about the hostility and the incidences of violence that had happened, it's easy to intellectualize that in your head and stuff, and once you get here, it becomes very real.
Self-empowerment work is the hardest work you'll ever do. See? So when we're here on this land, what we're doing, it's self-empowerment work. We've named ourselves to be here, taken ourselves here, and we set about doing what we need to do to build this place and to make sure that this place is going to be here. And we're building it so we can build a feminist education and cultural retreat center for generations to come to enjoy, something that there is not another one of these in the United States.
I think the type of education center that Brenda and Wanda talk about and that they envision is really one of the many necessary seeds that we need in our society to heal what I see as a very sick society.
What it means is we are teaching non-oppressive life ways. And when we live in a world that is finally filled with people with non-oppressive life ways, then we'll all have human rights, and the work will be done.
We're building an education center here. We need people to come help us build. We need carpenters and electricians and plumbers. We need people to help clear the land. We need people to come here to help us do the work. When we're spending all of our time building fences, we can't get the other work done.
I think we have a tight nucleus. I think our nucleus will stay together a lot longer, probably forever, than these terrorists, the Baptist terrorists. I think theirs is going to fall apart. They already have 9 churches for 200 people. If they were so trustful, they'd have 1 church for 200 people, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think they've already decided to cut their eyes at each other, wondering who's who, and, you know, see if they won't fall apart before we will. I believe they will.
The traditional religions, fundamentalist religions, have taught women to be subservient, and men were the head of the house, and women were responsible to the man responsible to God, and that's how it's set up, and don't question it. Your whole culture in the Deep South is your religion. And to the point that many religions feel like that their religion is above the law of the land. And I'm speaking from a white woman's perspective on that. And also from a religious background of coming from being a Pentecostal fundamentalist myself.
People have got to stay where they're at and come out. Don't move to San Francisco. Don't move to the big cities to have safe space. We've got to have safe space in our own homes, in our own towns.
Coming from Colorado, you know, you realize we know what it's like to be under attack, you know, and then you come here and they're under attack, and it's like the realization of that we're not safe anywhere.
When I found out I was a lesbian back in the 40s, it was scary. If they even had an idea you were, they'd put you in a mental institution. I wasn't here 3 days. I knew this was where I wanted to stay. And like we just received a bomb threat. If that's what if I have to die here for that's fine. You know, that's my, I have no qualms about it whatsoever. For the first time in my life I've been with my own and been loved and respected, and it's just wonderful for me.
If you're not part of the solution, you must be part of the problem. So I challenge everybody. I don't care what your job is. This is about our human rights. And now it's easy to hide because we're not lavender. I wish everybody turned lavender tomorrow, and then the problem would be over.
I think it's easy sometimes for people outside of here to point fingers and say nothing will ever happen, nothing will ever change there because that's such a traditional place. Traditional. Well, I'm here, I'm making my own traditions now.
Coming up here to the legislature as an open lesbian was scary as hell. Even the friendly ones wouldn't say a word. I mean, they'd look right at me, and I could see the wheels turning in their head, and I thought, oh, God, just say something friendly, you know, like you're not going to throw me out of here. And I only had one legislator tell me that he was certain that I had just never met the right man, and or any other lesbian, for that matter. And I told him I did not appreciate that remark at all, and I thought he was full of shit. And that's exactly what I told him. The way I explain it when I'm asked what a lobbyist does is I give legislators information. We have 5,000 bills introduced in a legislative session, and so consequently they couldn't possibly know about all those things. My job as a lobbyist is to make those legislators aware of my issue, the thing that I'm lobbying for or against, and I tell them the position I'd like them to take, to vote either with me, or if they're going to vote against me, I need to know that. They expect me to be able to tell them who is supporting the bill, who is opposing it, and you never lie. I don't do just gay stuff anymore. That doesn't make any difference. I'm always going to be known as the first gay lobbyist, and the people up there that are still there, that were there when I first came up there, still remember that. And it doesn't make any difference what the gay community does or what any effort that takes place over there. They call me. And they always want to talk. They don't, you know, they always have to check it out with me, or if is this how it really is? And, you know, I'm just the resident queer. That's just how that is. And I've learned to live with that. It's my son Rick, my daughter Sharon, and my son Chuck. This is the father of my two granddaughters and the father of my grandson. Sharon's a lesbian and doesn't have children, but she's just the love of my life. I laugh and say that I'm from the generation of eternal obligation. So I did all of my obligatory things. I got married, had children, and then when I was 48 years old, I started leading my life. I started being away from home more than I was at home, even though our children were not there. My husband really objected to that. He didn't like that at all, and he complained about it a lot. And I told him I thought it was really unfair. You know, in our 30 years of marriage, and the time he'd spent in the military, he was gone most of the time. And I was supposed to just take that. And I didn't think it was quite fair that he was complaining about it. But that wasn't the reason I left the marriage. I left the marriage because I fell in love with a woman.
This is probably one of the things that I'm prouder of other than having children. It's an award that's been established in my name. It's called the Naylor Award. I got the first one, and it was presented to me for outstanding contribution to the gay and lesbian community in the state of Texas. So I was not only touched about it, it means a great deal to me. I feel like this represents a lot of my life, and certainly stuff that I'm proudest of.
And realize there's a lot of work to be done. We've got to talk to people who cast the votes. You've just got to. They've got to know who we are. And anytime people think somebody's getting something, they have the instant feeling that they're going to get it because they're taking something away from me. And that's something we have to change. We have to make sure that people understand that we're only asking for what everybody else has. And that's our fight. And I think we're under siege now to a greater capacity than we've ever been on anything as gays and lesbians. I'm optimistic. You're going to see the days that they're not going to discriminate against gays in the military, and all of the criminal laws are all going to be taken off the books, but that's going to take time, and it's going to be a fight.
Hello, I am Pamela Sneed, and welcome to the Arts. Girls in the Nose is an Austin-based band for girls in the know. So check it out.
I'm Lisa Wickware, the guitar player. I'm Jean, bass player.
Me, I'm Darby, the drummer in Girls in the Nose.
My name is Kay Turner, and I'm the lead singer and founding member of the band Girls in the Nose.
You are the coolest woman in the world.
The term women's music needs to change. It needs to be brought around to be inclusive of many kinds of things that women do when they make music together. And I think Girls in the Nose is in large part about breaking through boundaries that we impose on ourselves as lesbians. You know, the lesbian community is very good at setting boundaries. A lot of women hate our music. In fact, you know, we used to feel badly when we'd start a set, you know, doing Viva La Vulva, Meat, you know, Sodomy. We do like some of our, you know, best numbers right up front, right at the top, and half the audience would walk out.
Big chunks of meat slowly burning in my pits. Yeah, I've got those big hunks of meat on my spit.
The normalization of women playing guitar is a major phenomenon going on right now. And playing the electric guitar is as natural as inserting a tampon. I mean, when girls start to menstruate, they should be handed an electric guitar as part of their woman ritual. My head is much more bounded to a lesbian consciousness. So I want to talk about women. I don't even think about men. We have this song called Breast Exam, and it's about eroticizing breast exams. It's about using that monthly sort of moment to, you know, focus on yet a new erotic pleasure. Anytime that lesbians are eroticizing the world, it's a better world. have a new song called Wig, and wig seems to me to be, in some ways, the last frontier for lesbians in the 90s. I mean, after you've done a strap-on dildo, you know, what more is there to do, really? You can put on a wig, and you can feel a kind of power that is even higher. Trust me.
I wanna wear a wig, something really big. I need the hot hair, and I can stand on the top of a chair. First wig, I wanna get this big. Second wig, something really big. Third wig, I'm gonna lay with 3 out of a twig. Fourth wig, fourth wig, fourth wig.
What's your favorite thing about being in an all-girl band? The babes.
Bite me! Bite me! Bite me!
This is fabulous.
Bite me!
Well, I was diagnosed with breast cancer April 16th of this year, and it was the biggest shock of my life. I had only 36 days before had my complete GYN appointment. I go every 6 months, and every year I have mammograms. I hadn't been doing my own self-breast exams. That's one thing I didn't do like regularly, but I would check in the shower on a casual basis or periodically, but it wasn't something I monthly do, which I'm certainly doing now.
50% of us do not get examined regularly, and they just put it off until it's too late. And the primary reason for my being here is to encourage early detection.
1 out of 8 women with breast cancer, that should have been enough reason for me to go seek more information, but life is so busy.
I was in my mid-30s, never had a mammography ever, and my lover actually noticed that I did have a lump in my left breast, and I went immediately and got a mammogram, and it was very frightening. There was, at that time, nowhere to go, no one to talk to.
There's a tremendous amount of information that's out there. It's a tremendous amount, but it all pretty much says the same thing. They don't have a clue as to what causes breast cancer. They don't have a clue.
We have to diffuse the myths. 80% of the women who are diagnosed with breast cancer do not fall in the risk category that the 8 or 9 different factors, women who don't bear children, women who have a family history of cancer, that's not applicable. We are women and we are all at risk, and that's what we have to understand.
Mammograms and breast self-exams are not going to prevent breast cancer. It will help to detect it at an earlier stage. It scares me to think I might have gone on vacation and postponed that mammogram because that's exactly what I was going to do. If you feel a lump, go to your gynecologist right away. Don't wait. Waiting won't make it go away. The only thing that'll make it go away is taking care of it. And it may not need to go away because it may not be something that will hurt you. You can't take a chance with breast cancer. 46,000 women die a year, and that number has not changed since 1940, despite all the technology. We've got incredible things that computers can do, but they haven't, men or women in the medical community, in the scientific community, have not figured out what to do about breast cancer.
Every time it comes, I get it.
Sandy Bullman for Dyke TV. We're here in San Francisco at the Cow Palace for the Bay Area Regional Rodeo. Gay rodeo started in Reno in 1976 as a fundraiser for muscular dystrophy. This rodeo is a fundraiser also for the Bridge for Kids. The Bridge for Kids is a respite care center for families with children who have AIDS. There are around 5,000 people here today, and prize money is more than $25,000.
The women in our rodeo are allowed to compete in all of the events. We have 13 different events. They range from rough stock, roping, horse events, and camp events. And the men and the women do not compete against each other, but we all compete in the same events. We use the same stock. We have the same rules. For me, it's kind of a way of life. I have been rodeoing for 26 years. When I was a senior in high school, they put girls steer riding into our high school circuit. And I rode steers my senior year, which kind of got me hooked, and I did it kind of on a dare.
Here we go, folks. 6 seconds. Right here, this is Mike Carroll. See if we find another.
There's no money in this. I do this for free. This is no pay, no nothing. This is just because I like the sport.
Between the two of them.
Actually, it's always been my fantasy to be a cowgirl myself, and here I am living my childhood fantasies.
Well, I'm chasing 70.
Are you chasing skirts in here?
Oh, I'm looking around. My eyesight hasn't gone yet, anyway.
Plus, the butts are really cute here in their Wranglers. Wranglers. And I guess you could call me the housewife because I babysit the kid all afternoon.
I'm retired, so I really don't care what happens. Who finds out, who looks, or whatever.
And to be able to walk around and hold her hand in public and say, you know, this is my lady and we love each other is a wonderful feeling. And someday, hopefully, we'll be able to do that everywhere.
Barbara Hammer is one of the pioneers of lesbian filmmaking. She was in New York recently, and we had the opportunity to interview her.
Yeah. I started making films in 1968 when I was heterosexual. I was married, but I didn't feel like I was a traditional housewife. I don't know why. Oh, good. But here I was feeling androgynous was the word, and so I started making films expressing this kind of state of being. My first Super 8 film was called Schizzy, that kind of schizophrenia about living in two worlds as a woman living in a man's world. And I thought maybe I was crazy or something.
Remember what it was like to be a lesbian?
I became a lesbian in 1970, and I documented all my relationships, whoever would, be in my work. Of course, now as I become more popular, people stand back when I go to date. Don't bring your camera.
Could you turn off the light? Yeah, just as soon as I'm finished. Just as soon as you're finished.
Let's talk about Hot Flash. I have to remember Hot Flash. Hot Flash. I shot in New York in 1985 with professional actors. It's an attempt to satirize menopause as being a subject that we don't talk about, a period of life that we go through that is supposed to be horrendous, and it's supposed to turn the tables on this taboo and rejected process that all women go through.
And Ruby? Ruby will get over it. And when she does, she'll be better off for it. She'll be stronger. She'll get over it. When she stops connecting my rage and my menopause. Just because I got in touch with my anger halfway through my life doesn't mean that I'm angry because I'm flashing.
So right away I found myself with two audiences, which has been both a delight and a bane all my life. One, an experimental audience, because I've always been interested in inventing new form and new language, and I believe as lesbians we need to have a new way of talking. We can't just adapt the boys or the patriarchal language and have our visions expressed. And the second audience was a lesbian audience. Now, sometimes the lesbian audience was more conservative than the experimental audience. And because we've had to fight so many battles, my understanding is that sometimes we wanted to lead a more conventional lifestyle, or we wanted to see the conventional narrative, the story, and of course the story with the happy ending. Sanctus is a film made out of found footage. Well, first let me say it's moving X-rays, shot during the 1950s by 4 doctors, and belongs in the collection of Dr. James Sibley Watson, the very first experimental filmmaker in the United States. And he made Lot and Sodom, 1933, the first gay film in America. And I stumbled upon his outtakes when I was taking a tour of the Eastman House. And there was a can, a silver can that said Watson's X-rays. And I opened it, I was on a tour and I hung back and I opened it and I saw this film, it's 35 millimeter in negative, and I just, like Nancy Drew, I wanted to solve this mystery. Although I used these X-rays from the 1950s, I got concerned when I started showing them because so many people thought, oh, how beautiful, look at that, a skeleton putting on lipstick. 2 men without any skin on their bodies, skeletons, shaving. Ha 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 ha, ho ho ho. Isn't that funny? Or isn't the use of color in the film beautiful? And what I really wanted to do is point out that the medical spectacle was made by use of radiation, which in the 1950s was not understood as well as it is now. People who thought they were protected, both the people being filmed and the filmmakers, are probably dead of cancer. 3 out of the 4 filmmakers are deceased from cancer. I was able to interview one of them. So I try to point out the fragility and the way the material is gathered isn't necessarily gratuitous, gorgeous, and there to be consumed in this consumer society, but reflected upon. Nitrate Kisses, my first feature, is a film. The film is about ideas, how is history made, who makes history. I want you in the audience to become the archaeologists and the historians.
Here are these pictures of Willa in suits and ties and men's hats, and I'm thinking, whoa, what is this,
We have to put together our own cultural history from scraps of paper we see, from signs we see, from the way people are dressed, the looks on their faces. We construct a contemporary history. Life is full of fragmentation, and so is my film. And when you look for lesbian and gay history, especially lesbian history, the holes, the gaps are profound.
She dresses like a boy, and then I don't know what happened to her.
You see in the film burnt-out buildings. I'm not saying that we're burnt out. I'm saying that our history has been destroyed, and we must keep all our scraps for our own personal archives that will then go to the Lesbian History Archive or to the San Francisco Gay and Lesbian Historical Society, because all our lives are important.
Scholars come from all over the world. There's no mention ever of her lesbianism.
A few weeks ago, I was out for my Sunday cycling routine. Everything was just perfect, as usual, when suddenly things went amiss. Well, my spirits were pretty deflated. when this stranger appeared thinking she was going to save the day. This girl was lucky, because I knew all about bikes. And you know the way girls are. They're just too shy to ask anyone for help. Maybe I did need her help, but I didn't exactly want a lesson. Now in the future, what you're going to need is a pump and a patch kit. And when you go into that bike shop, you have to be confident because they're not going to take you seriously. Give me a patch kit and pump! Come on, let's go! I don't have all day! Unscrew the washer from the Presta valve. Get your patch kit, take out your tire irons to begin the tire removal process. Slip iron number 1 carefully under the lip of the tire, lifting it up and over the rim of the wheel and then anchoring it to one of the spokes. With iron number 2, slip it under the tire and gently slide it around the rim, remove the first side of the tire. Pull out the inner tube, taking the Presta valve out last. Remove the tire from the wheel, ever so carefully run your finger around the inside of the tube, extracting any glass or debris. Pump up the tube to check for the location of the hole. With a piece of sandpaper, cross-hatch the surface to prepare it for the patch. Apply the glue to the area, allowing it to dry for 5 minutes. Peel your patch of choice, place it over the hole, rub vigorously with your finger, and you're set. Now you're ready to put the tire on the wheel. Only halfway. Pump up the tube, just a little, and put in the Presta valve in first. Insert the tube under the tire so it rests on the rim. Release the air from the tire. And finally, using only your hands, roll back the other side of the tire onto the rim of the wheel. Be sure that the line of the tire meets the wheel at the rim. Not below, not above, but at the rim. So when the tire was mended, she helped finish the job. And I realized that she was all right. Like a guardian angel, my very own Frankie Avalon. And I would never forget her. And me, well, you know how it goes.
Screw you, Bill Donahue. Dick the hell with you. Michael Douglas. My strategy, and lesbian-only civil rights. Who the hell do you think you are? They're disgusting. Chicken shit. We're better than Hillary Clinton. Possibilities. We've heard about you, Hillary. I just feel warm all over. Hey, did you hear the great news? This bar in Florida went from straight to gay, fired its straight waitresses. The waitresses went off to court and the legislature and said, hey, we need laws protecting people on the basis of sexual orientation. We're going to get civil rights in Florida. This is a fabulous strategy. This is going to solve all our problems. This is how we're going to get civil rights laws in every state and nationally. Fire straight people. We'll get them so upset that they will all go off to the legislature. We'll have the majority demanding civil rights. We'll be in great shape. And I think if we should fire gay men, too, if they're complacent and smug and not doing anything. Let's get them active, too. I'm sick of their act. This is the deal. Fire these people. If you are a gay man or lesbian in power, you have your own business, you're a safe manager, fire straight people, fire complacent, affluent gay men, make them go do the work. We're home free.
In rugby, the object is always to keep the ball moving. It doesn't, you're not out there trying to like tackle the person the hardest that you can. You want to, take them down, but you're not out to kill people. You're out to create something, to do something good with the ball.
Basically, it's like football where you want to get into the try zone in rugby and touch the ball down. It's all out. 40-minute halves, and it's like nothing anyone who's ever played, and you can't really compare it to anything, even though people try to.
There's just something like really wonderful about sharing something that's physical and emotional with people around you. I think it's really uplifting to be able to put your body and your soul and your heart into something.
It's very much a team effort. There's no one person who can go out there and do it alone. It's 15 people working together all the time.
On the field, you compete
so hard, you know. It's your team against that team. And you walk off the field and you're friends.
There's often a lot of travel involved, and sometimes you have a team from quite a distance away and you put them up in your homes. You know, feed them breakfast, take them to the game, play against them, and then take them, you know, to the party for dinner.
There's tons and tons of women in college that are playing rugby. And our trick now is we're trying to get more of them to play rugby with us when they graduate.
College women often don't play rugby after college. One thing, sometimes they don't think they're good enough for a club side. Another thing is they get jobs, and it's a high commitment to play rugby. You travel, if you play with Beantown, you travel all over the country.
I really enjoyed playing rugby in college, and everyone said, you know, you can't continue, it's a gay sport, it's a gay sport. And I thought, well, that's kind of ridiculous. So, you know, I went out and I played, and I was like, well, there certainly is a majority of gay women, but it didn't really, you know, they didn't say, oh, you can't play, you know, you're straight.
I don't know what heterosexual women get out of it. I'm always baffled by their participation, but we're certainly happy to have them. And then oftentimes they come out later after they've been playing for a while.
Community of women, and it's strong women, it's straight women, it's lesbians. It's a place where we're dealing with competition, and it's really healthy competition that is oftentimes applicable to the outside world. If you picked out the women who play rugby, that you would find that they're usually very influential in their society, and that they're not really being pushed around, and that they're changing the system. It kind of overflows, you know, from the sport into our lives.
If I had to describe rugby in one or two words, I'd have to say commitment and passion.
Orgasmic is probably.
And it's a wonderful way to find out about your own strength and your own physical capabilities. And I think that's a wonderful part of knowledge for each of us to have.
Hi, this is Lexa with your Inner City Goddesses. Do you know about crystal vulva? This is how you worship her. Take a very clean crystal and insert it in your vagina. Think about the one you love. Oh, it works.
This is one of my favorite pictures of myself, I think. Probably because I know what was happening during the photo session. This is actually a cropping from a picture of my mother, my sister, and myself. And apparently, right after the picture was exposed, my right arm came around and slugged my sister right in the face. I didn't want anybody to hold me. I think my first words were, by myself. I was 6 months, maybe. I love this picture. I think it was probably the last time I ever wore a dress, if not the last, pretty close to the last. That's my sister, Pat, almost 3 years older, posing in her dainty way with her doll sitting decorously in her lap, and there I am, getting ready to explore my doll. I think of this as my yes, it's true, we are everywhere photograph. This is me at the Peanut Gallery, having just seen the Howdy Doody show. I was in one of my favorite outfits, my little coat, my leggings, my tam. I was cool. It's possible that my sister and I were the two first black children on the Howdy Doody show, although they may not have known it. In fact, they probably didn't. It was a great day. This is the beginning of my career as an actor at Camp Homestead, the Unitarian family camp. Little did they know, this little girl and I just look at that eye contact. Where is she now? This is my high school yearbook picture, the quintessential 60s pearls and black sweater, both of which I think that I borrowed from the photographer. This is my grandma and me on the day I received my master's degree. And I have my little pink triangle on. My grandma was so happy. She was really great. Miss Emma. Long may she wave. I'm here with my bear family, playing in the backyard. I guess maybe still a lesbian child at heart.
This is San Francisco, 1971, the day I was born. This is my mom and me in the hospital. You can see she has her little hospital gown there on her shoulder. This is my extended family, parts of them. I grew up living in a commune. My mom is the one with the baby. The baby is me. Most of the guys were gay, except for my dad. He's one of the Jesus ones with the striped shirt there up in the middle. And the one right underneath him, next to the laughing woman, is Larry Brinken. He's wonderful, and he works for the Human Rights Commission in San Francisco, and he fought for domestic partnership in San Francisco. This is me and my city. I love San Francisco. It's mine. I don't know why, but for some reason, I thought that a fake smile is when you open your mouth real big and look like that. So they thought they wanted to trick me, and every time they took a picture, they'd say, "Hey, Lily, make a fake smile." And I would do that. I would open my mouth really big. Soon after this, my mom started to date women. She dated women for years, and I had my stepmom, Elaine, her lover, who lived with us until mid-high school. But also soon after this picture was taken, my mom began her apprenticeship as a plumber, and she was the first journeywoman plumber in San Francisco. Here we are on my steps at my Waller Street house. I'm the one at the top. The other ones are Melissa, Maud, and Cara. We all dated boys in high school, but we were all in love with each other. This is me on a trip last summer to Washington State with my dad. We had a great time. My mom and dad and I are all friends, although none of us live together. They're very supportive and delightful. And I like strawberries.
Mira que sin vergüenza, no puede ser. Él con otra mujer no se atrevería. Él va a saber que conmigo no se juega. ¡Ja! Soy un fuego que no se apaga, me debes de tener temor.